Good afternoon and good morning to some. Hope everybody is doing well. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Laura Froyam. I'm an account executive here at CDI. And during today's webinar, Your Room with a View, we're going to gain a better understanding of your users and the content they need. So a little bit of housekeeping items. This is a new platform for us. We usually use GoToMeeting and we'll actually be switching back. But if you have questions, please feel free to go ahead and post them in the chat box, and then I will get to them at the end or throughout as I see them. And then slides and screenshots are available upon request, and the session will be recorded. So don't hesitate to ask any questions that you might have. So today's agenda, we're going to be walking through the Laserfiche home screen, the operational dashboards, performance reports, and then creating some document and page creation reports, and then just an overview of resources as well. Today, I will mainly be demoing through the Laserfiche cloud interface, but I do want to point out that aside from the home screen that we're going to look at first, all the other reports are available to you in a self-hosted system as well. And a lot of them function the same way, or they might be laid out a tiny bit different. So again, I will be doing my demonstration mainly in cloud, but most of it carries over to a self-hosted system. So don't hesitate again to ask questions. So I'm going to dive right in. We are just going to walk through it. So once you get logged into the Laserfiche cloud environment, what you're going to see is this home page. This is the landing page that it defaults everybody in a cloud environment onto. Is everybody having hearing difficulties, or is it just one person? Okay. Thanks for confirming. Perfect. So once you're logged into the cloud site, this is what you see. So we're just going to kind of walk through everything. Up here at the top, everything in the cloud environment is hyperlinks. You know, if it highlights or you can click on it, you know, it will hyperlink you to something else. So these are just hyperlinks to different areas of the Laserfiche repository or your Laserfiche instance. Again, in a self-hosted environment, you don't have this homepage, but you can get to documents, you can get to tasks, you can get to reports all through different modules of Laserfiche. So within this home screen, you can see any tasks that you specifically have to complete this week. If you are on a team of people, you can also switch it to view your team's tasks. This is really valuable for organizations, you know, for like accounts payable or something. If you have a lot of finance automation within your Laserfiche system and a finance team, you can have a finance manager come in and view all of the team tasks, not just their own, so they can get an overarching view of what everybody's up to. But you can click these and they'll bring you to your tasks, either the new tasks you need to complete or your completed tasks. I have 18 active tasks, 0 team tasks. Again, here's just a list view of the active tasks here. So you can click on any of those and it'll bring you directly to the task for you to complete. Anything that's high priority is down here at the bottom. If you have a larger view than what is available, you can click View All, and it will bring you to your task list so you can see them all. Clearly, I am not a great employee, as I have lots of outstanding tasks. That's just a tease. This is our demo environment. So then we have our star documents. So this is great for if you're frequenting any files or folders within the Laserfiche repository. You can star those documents really easily, and then they would show up here in your starred area. And then any recent documents that you've opened up or brought into the system will show up in your recent area. Any document searches you have. So if you do any saved searches within Laserfiche and it's something that you frequent, that will pop up in your saved search area for you automatically. or if people share searches with you and you use them, they would show up here in your saved searches for quick access. And then any forms processes that you have the ability to take part in would be here in this forms area. So you could easily click one and initiate that forms process right here. And then any of these help center videos, Laserfiche answers, or just Laserfiche help. So this is the home screen, available again only in Laserfiche Cloud, but it gives you kind of everything you need or would need right offhand. Again, we can go to documents here. This will bring me to the repository at the top, my forms tasks, reporting, or to submit new forms. Again, all of those are kind of within the body of the home screen. So lots of different ways to navigate where you need to go. If we click on the home screen here, we're going to see a couple of things. We're going to have operational dashboard as well as surveys. So we're going to go into the operational dashboard first. So this is a really great overview tool. And again, this is available for self-hosted environments as well. It's just found within Laserfiche Forms itself versus right off the home tab. So you'll select the process. I'm doing all of mine on client reporting. That's what I probably run the most demos of within this cloud environment. So we've got some tasks that we can take a look at. So the operational dashboard gives you an overview of your forms processes and any of the automation within it. So a lot of times forms processes will have multiple tasks assigned or multiple steps within the process, like, submitting the form and then emailing a notification and then, an approval task followed by another approval task and things like that. All of those steps in your processes are things that get reported on in either your operational dashboard or in some of the other reports that we're going to go ahead and take a look at. So the operational dashboard is focused mainly on the tasks. So we can see here, we've got a total of 13 completed instances of version 10. If you didn't set up your forms process when you've made updates to it to just absorb all of the old copies into the new one, it will create a separate version. And then any of those versions you can run reporting on. So we've got 13 different instances. Again, these are all hyperlinked activities if there's information reported. So I could click it and go into the open tasks and see what's going on, or go into the completed tasks and see. Additionally, within any of these tables or tabs, you've got this 3 dots for the more. So you can download this data. And you can use it for, building PowerPoints or building reports that you're supplying to management, to justify hiring a new employee or something like that. So any of this information is accessible to you to use in other ways as needed. And then you can change the way that it's visualized too. So right now it's sorted by value, but I can change it to label, and then I can say, I only want to see the stuff for myself. And then it's just going to adjust the graph according to the criteria that I set. So then I can see, oh, okay, here's what Laura has. I can click on the graph. It's going to bring me into my instances. I can see I've got a compliance in process 1. I can go ahead and click on it. It's going to bring me to the task, and I can complete it from there if I want, or I can reassign it, whatever I might need to do. As a manager, you could also certainly click on this, and then you could reassign it to somebody else if a certain employee just isn't doing their job, or they're, have too much work, to get through it all in one day. You can very easily go through these reports and reassign tasks as needed. So I'm going to switch this back to value, and then I want to see everybody so we can have all that data. So by due date, by due state, so if any of your tasks have due dates, like they have to be completed within a certain amount of time, this here will report on that. None of them have due dates, but you could see which ones did and whether they were completed within the right amount of time or not. Again, if you had a team of employees, you would be able to see the team information here as well as the individual information up at the top. Longest duration is right here. And then up here is just the tasks. So as I had mentioned earlier, the tasks and your forms processes, or your forms processes, can have multiple tasks associated. So right now, it says we have 13 tasks, but we really only submitted 7 instances. And so each instance had 2 separate tasks for a total of 14, and there's 1 or a couple in process. So 7 different instances. Again, we can click on here. And the instance is the process as a whole. The task is the individual piece of the process. And again, you can click on all of it. I'm going to go in and click on stage 2. Oh, Laura has this here in compliance onboarding. It's still in process. I need to hound her and tell her to take action. Anybody in stage 4? Ron Race, he's got a couple suitability reviews he needs to update, and then he can be done. So that's the operational dashboard. You can run it on, again, any of your Laserfiche forms processes that you have, and then it's going to give you all these statistics that you can use, you can download, and use for whatever you might need. If you have a self-hosted system, when you download this stuff, you can download it and have workflow, populate a document template for you if you want. So there's a lot more functionality that you can get for customizing your reports and maybe emailing it to you on a regular basis within the self-hosted environment. You can do that within cloud too, but takes a little bit more work. So that's the operational dashboard. Next, we are going to jump into the performance reports and just kind of go through the different Laserfiche forms reports that we have available. So here I'm logged into Laserfiche forms in my cloud environment, but again, you have similar features and functionality within your self-hosted environment when you log into forms, but it might look a little bit different. So we are going to focus on client onboarding. LI. And if I click on it, it's actually going to bring me into design, but I want to go into monitor. So when you go into the monitor tab within Laserfiche, what you're going to be doing is taking a look at monitoring the instances that are either in process or completed. So you're going to be taking a look at the instance as a whole, not necessarily the tasks individually. So we can go and say, I want to look at client onboarding. I want to see all versions, in process, and completed. And then I want to see last updated all. I want to, you can change your date rate from starting on a specific date or within a certain time. So you can get really granular, like with your start and stops as needed. So I'm just going to go ahead and click search. And then this is going to pull back all of the instances of that forms process that were submitted. So I can see who started it, when they did it, what step it's currently on, if it is still in process, and then its status. And of course, I can click any of these hyperlinks and it will bring me to the process diagram and where it's at within that specific process. With instances too, you have the ability to refresh. You can skip and move on to the next. So if you're viewing one, you can interrupt it, and reroute it. You can go ahead and stop it and just close it out. Then you can get some reports and things like that. But you can also come up to the report tab up here and we'll take a look at those. So there's lots of different reports available to you really easily within forms as long as you have the appropriate permissions. So you can have users set up with the ability to submit forms, but not necessarily be able to view reporting. And so I'll log into our live full forms environment shortly here and just show you the differences on what I can see and what I can interact with when I don't have permissions versus when I do. But here I'm in the report tab. And so you can have performance reports, track how long your processes take to complete. So we're going to go ahead and review that. I'm going to, again, focus on my client onboarding. I'm going to say year to date, apply. So we can see here the performance for this and the amount of time it's taken for certain activities to complete. In March, there were a few instances that came through and they're still running. So this must have been a long time ago. The average cycle time is 103.8 days because of these couple of outstanding instances that have tasks associated. But otherwise, we can see here for the most part, a majority of our tasks are completed in less than a day. So our graph is kind of uneventful. Down here at the bottom, we can see the number of instances associated. So submitted in January through March, 1, April to June, 1, June, July, August, September, and then this month. So that's the performance report. You could also switch between the different reports by using this drop down. So now we can take a look at work in progress. So this is giving you a graph for the tasks and stage that your process is in. So default stage is the submission of the form. Stage 2 is that initial approval. Stage 3 is the emailing out. Stage 4 is another approval. And then stage 5 is, just completed instance where, your forms process is completely done. So you can click on any of these items within the graph. You can easily drill down into it. So number of instances in stage 4, we can see that there are 2 instances in October that were completed. I can come back over here and click it again, and now we can see all of them. We can change the way that, or we can change the way that we can change the stage of the information that is being reported. So again, by clicking the colors, by clicking the graph, by clicking up here, you can update that as well. And then you can reset it to be the default. So anything in blue, again, these are clickable items. You can go ahead and click that. We can see client onboarding started by me yesterday. I can click that to get to the task, reassign, whatever I might need to. Then if we jump into task loads, this one I think is really interesting and could be really valuable to teams if you are doing a lot of automation within Laserfiche, because you can see where things are pending. And so when you're looking at your forms process, and this is the process that was built out. So again, the starting of the form, this is the first task, compliance review, the email that goes out. Stage 3 is saving it to Laserfiche, and then another task here, and then completion. But you can see where you've got open tasks and pending items. And then you can go ahead and click on them. And you can see down here, there's 1 in green. If there were multiple, it would show up in the red. And so we can see we've got total 3 pending instances. There's only 1 in compliance review and 2 in suitability review. So you can go ahead and drill into that. Ron has 2 pending user tasks. I can go ahead and click on that, see what's going on here. 2 in suitability review. Who is this for? Ron. I'm going to go ahead and reassign this to Laura. And then hopefully she'll get it done. And then that will update your data. We can go ahead and do a quick F5. Now, if we click on this, we can see Laura Rules has 1, Ron has 1. And so you can reassign out really easily like that. And so here, again, depending on where it's at in its stage, you can see who's doing what or not doing what, and then go ahead and reassign accordingly. If we go into forms reports, let's take a look at what that looks like. So what the forms reports is demonstrating and showing to us is all of the information that was filled out in the form and how complete the form was, essentially. So for question 1, the first name, we can see across our instances this month, here were the field values that were completed. And then again, these are all field values that we can use to, build a workflow, create folder structures, do whatever we want with. But this helps you identify how frequently and what fields are getting filled out and which ones are getting skipped, so that you can ultimately either change the complexity of your form to exclude certain fields, or, if they're skipping it, identify why they might be skipping a particular field, who is the culprit, the main culprit of skipping fields, things like that. So if they're not completing the appropriate information, you can figure out why, or you can go back and make it required so they can't, submit the information and push the form through without completing what they need. So it just gives you some statistics on what's being filled out and what has actually been filled out. And then for each of these fields, if you have more information, maybe you might want to graph it. So you can do a pie chart. You can do a line graph. I don't know why you would for this one, and other types of charts. And then you can certainly download it. And then these, again, are available to you to push into any other type of report that you might need to complete for management, or, requesting those new job roles, things like that. So workload here within still our single client onboarding process, we can see that Andrew has completed a couple tasks, Laura, Ron. So you can see what everybody's workload is and how much they're having to do. And you can adjust the time range too. So if you want to do it this week, this month, quarter, date, or just by a specific date, you can certainly apply those search criteria and then really see who's got the highest workload within the organization for that particular process. And you can, of course, do that by team. So if you have tasks that are getting assigned to teams of users, you can see who's taking on the majority of the work within that team by assigning those tasks to themselves and getting the work done. So it gives you a lot of transparency into who's doing what. And of course, all of these things in blue, you can go ahead and click on them and drill down and get further information. So then we're going to take a look at this irregularity report. So unfortunately, I do not have a report that demonstrates this, but this is a good one for long term. So if you are doing something like, I don't know, student onboarding, you could have your students fill out a form. You can see all of the tasks getting completed by your staff through all of the reports. And then you can use this irregularity report to see, in the month of January, this is how many student applications we received versus in the month of January of 2021. This is how many we received. So the irregularity gives you the ability to see, what it was at a certain period of time and what it is right now. So you can have that transparency into year to year, what's happening. And so that's really great for standardized processes too, like, maybe things HR related. You can take a look and see how many benefits enrollments forms were completed and, identify how many you would expect versus how many were actually submitted, and see those irregularities within a report here for you. Additionally, so this is that's the reporting and how you can run through it. Of course, any of the instances you can drill down into as well. So you can get any of that information from the form fields that were submitted, who submitted them, and use that information to create other types of reports as needed. And those things can be emailed to you automatically if needed. There would just need to be automation set up to do that. So now let's take a look at Audit Trail. So Audit Trail is a module add-on. Some systems have it, some have it as an add-on. There are different versions of Audit Trail that you can leverage. And so what we get asked pretty frequently is, how can I get a report for all of the documents that were added within a certain, time frame? So you can certainly run a search within your Laserfiche repository to see documents created within, a certain time frame. But what that report isn't going to show you is things that were maybe deleted within that amount of time too. Sometimes people bring in documents and then they delete them. And so that wouldn't show up in a search report in the repository. The best way to get an accurate report of documents that were created within a certain amount of time would be through Audit Trail, because Audit Trail is going to be tracking everything. And so we actually have a report that was already created. And so I'm just going to click it and run it. And so this is going to show me all of the documents that were created within our repository within the last 7 days. So any document that was created, it's going to give me the time that it was created, the event type, which I'll go over in a little bit, the user, the resource, so like what the document is named, what volume it went in, any tag data changes, and then whether it went through successfully or not. So the event type is something I want to go through. So if you're in Audit Trail and you want to do a report on how many documents were created within a certain amount of time, your event type is going to be create document. What this isn't necessarily going to show you is if there was an existing document in your repository that somebody added pages to. So if you also want to see pages created, you'll need to add in a new entry type. And so I just kind of want to go through these entry types for everyone. So let me just roll back a little. In Audit Trail, you have all of these different types of information that you can report on. And certain things will be available depending on the level of Audit Trail that you have. There are 3 different levels of Audit Trail. There's starter, standard, and then advanced. Starter tracks everything that happens within the repository. So once a document hits the repository, if somebody changes it, deletes it, moves it, all of that information gets tracked. Standard does all of that, plus a little bit more within the administration console, like user password changes. And then advanced Audit Trail does all of that, plus everything in the admin console. So if you add a new metadata field, or you add a new user, all of those things would be available to you within Audit Trail for tracking if you needed. So the different types of information, the account is, I didn't want to click. Account is more administrative. So you can look in the administrative area and you can see when people assign tags, when they changed group membership, whether they changed their password, created a trustee, deleted, applied a watermark, or modified a trustee. So these again are more administrative functions that you could run searches on. Annotations, again, if somebody added an annotation to a document, highlighted, deleted, modified it, you could run searches on annotations within the repository. Auditing, you could see if somebody changed the audit configuration. So if they came in to Audit Trail and changed the configuration, you could see that. Electronic data, so these are the different types of files that you could run searches on, so whether it's a PDF or not, that kind of thing. An entry is a document that is added into the system. So added a document to a link group, assigned a template, changed the owner, and any of those things here. Export and print. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Metadata, if they updated any of the metadata pages. So this is where, if you want to see whether they've added or created pages, in addition to created documents, we can add create a page. So page is for documents that are already existing within the repository. You can do, did they copy pages? Did they delete pages? Did they modify them? So again, just another good example of how granular you can get with auditing and transparency within your Laserfiche system with Audit Trail and the tools provided. Records management actions, searching. So you can run searches within Audit Trail for specific search criteria that people may have looked up on. So you can run searches on if they searched on the word Laserfiche or something like that. So you get really granular. Sessions, whether they had open documents or sessions, and then whether they've viewed content or not. This is a really good one if you want to ensure, what we hear a lot is HR. They are really adamant that nobody sees their documents, and they want to have complete transparency into whether or not they have, if anybody's had access, or IT a lot of times will have access rights to view HR content, or at least know that that content exists. And so you can have a report sent to HR saying, here, is what was viewed and who viewed it throughout, the month or the week or whatever. So they can have total transparency into, these are the users who are looking at content within our repository. And you can provide them, yes, IT does know that these documents exist, but they're not abusing their privilege. So things like that. So I've added the create page. I'm going to go ahead and click apply. This is going to update it. And so now we can see my event type. I've got a couple of create pages. So I had inserted a few documents. I can expand this and see the document name. You can also add more fields if you want. So if you want to add additional columns, you could certainly do that. So event ID changes. Yeah, you could do page number 4, and let's do a page number. West data. I don't know if there was template information you wanted to collect, that kind of stuff. So you can change your fields. You can download this. You can print it. If you have a self-hosted system, you do have the ability to have this automatically emailed on a regular basis. And so it's just a matter of, how do you want to have that set up? In cloud, you can come in and run it on demand. All right. So that is just a pretty quick overview of the different reporting. Hopefully it kind of helped everybody understand what is possible within Laserfiche forms and reporting, as well as a little bit more into Audit Trail and what you're able to see there. So let me just bring this slideshow back up. Again, I like to just include the CDI resources that are available to you. You can find more information in our client portal. Definitely within our blog, we do a lot of information on Audit Trail and things like that. And then some of our webinars and pre-recorded or past recorded webinars have been on reporting as well. So feel free to check out these CDI resources. You can also learn more through the Laserfiche Aspire or getting started guides, as well as Laserfiche answers. So now I'm going to open it up and see if there are any questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to go ahead and just post them in the chat, and then I can go ahead and address them. Lively group everyone is today. So I'm going to take it there aren't any questions, but if you think of anything after the fact, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help. I am not the configuration expert on hand here and on staff. So if there's a question you have that I can't answer, I will be sure to get you to the appropriate contact and get you a resolution to whatever you need. But otherwise, I really appreciate everybody joining me today for the webinar, and please let us know if there's anything we can help with. Thank you.